Thanks for tuning in to learn more about direct print. We're going to get straight into it with my host, David Jenkins. David, many of our customers are on a cloud migration journey, and they want to understand how they can continue to support printing, which is often the last thing that gets thought about in a cloud migration strategy. How does direct print work, and how does this help with the cloud migration strategy for customers?
Absolutely, James. Thanks very much. Yeah, so DirectPrint is a full cloud-based print administration system. What that means is there is nothing required on premise. And in fact, what you're looking at the moment is the operational dashboard of the system. This is where you can do this is where you can do your day-to-day monitoring and configuration of printers in the system. And you see that it's hosted on the web, so there's no internal servers that you need to stand up or install on premise in order to get this software up and running. The other key point is the only other thing you need to do to get the system working is to deploy the client application. So we sometimes call it the universal print driver. And this is the agent that runs on your endpoints. So your endpoints, specifically Windows, Mac, and Chrome OS devices. So this makes the installation and maintenance of printers super easy for administrators. And really, the architecture is very, very simple. As you say, as you can see, it's a cloud-based administration system, and then the client application that can be deployed using Intune or PDQ or the mobile device management, the MDM software of your choice. And that's really as simple as it is.
One topic we see regularly is that customers have mixed fleets of devices, let's say some Konicas, some HP DeskJets, and a few other printers dotted around their environment. How does direct print handle mixed fleet environments?
In a word, gracefully. We built a system in order to support nearly 6,000 models of printer, whether that's actually just a single function printer or a multifunction copier style device. They're supported by directprint.io. Super easy to onboard those devices into the system. So using our tool called Device Radar, you can do automatic scanning or manual scanning. And this tool will allow you to upload existing printer lists or indeed do subnet-based discovery 192.168.68.1, 168.168.255. So this is going to scan an entire subnet. If I click scan for printers, this is going to go away, search the whole of the subnet, and it's going to find, for example, two printers. I've got one Epson and one HP. You can then edit the names of these devices before they're then brought into the system. We're also suggesting and pre-configuring the devices with their optimal configurations. So that's around driver choice and around advanced finishing feature installation. So all of that's handled by the system. So absolutely super easy to onboard the existing devices that you have, regardless of whether you've purchased them or whether they're part of a rental agreement or even a managed print services contract.
Can you talk a little bit more about the universal print driver? You mentioned that there's some finishing options in your previous statement. So how does direct print handle advanced finishing options? Lots of people assume universal print drivers and lowest common denominator printing. So how does that work with direct print?
Absolutely. So this is a key point, and one of the pieces that we've spent a lot of engineering time on as a company to make sure that we got it right. So I mentioned previously that the system supports nearly 6,000 models of printer today. And we achieved that compatibility through two aspects of the system. So firstly, we have a cloud configurable universal print driver. So what that means is this agent, this universal print driver, gets its configuration from the cloud. And you do the configuration for printers and copiers through the direct print administration console. So if I look up my whole copier, and say this was, for example, a Konica device or a Canon device or a Toshiba device, for example, I can come in here, I can select the specific model number. Let's just take a 3005 AC. These are the finishing options that relate to this particular device. I can then add to options, and then you have available to you as an administrator all of the specific finishing features that this particular hardware model supports. So that would be folding, stapling, hole punching, booklet creation, secure printing, account codes, transparency support, all of those features, you can decide as an administrator whether you want to expose those driver options to different users or whether you want to keep printing simple or indeed hard code some of those options for a logical printer queue in the system. So you might have the hall copier with stapling permanently enabled, and you make that available as a separate printer in the system. So lots of different use cases, lots of different configuration options that are possible with the universal print driver and the powerful administration capabilities that we have in the cloud.
Excellent. That's looks really powerful that you can configure that from the cloud and have the client consume those driver changes.
Absolutely.
One thing that comes up frequently is around software choices that have already been made within organizations, and typically the hot topic is IDP integration. How does DirectPrint handle IDP integrations, and what can you share with us on that?
IDP, obviously, identity provider platforms, directories. So this would be the existing systems that you have to authenticate users. Typically falls into two categories, either Microsoft organizations or Google organizations. And we have an integration with both Microsoft Entra ID and also Google Workspace. And then within both of those integrations, lots of different configuration options. So we are a Microsoft enterprise application. So you onboard directprint.io as an enterprise application inside of your Azure platform, and then you link your Azure Entra ID to DirectPrint, and then immediately within a few minutes, so you'll start to get group information that is transferred from Entra ID over to DirectPrint, and that allows you to do some really neat things. So, for example, allocating printers based on users group membership, really simple. Again, you can select individual printers to allocate to individual users. You could select a room's worth of printers. So again, coming back to our kind of tree view that we created earlier during the onboarding process, you can be really fine-grained, or you can be quite macro level with respect to how you allocate printers to different parts of your organization. And furthermore, you can create individual user exceptions as well. So for example, my user in here, you can either replace the printers that you would otherwise get at the group level, or you can augment or add to the printer lists that you would get from a group membership, for example. So again, this is allowing you to create exceptions, create additional printers for maybe special people inside the organization, whether it's a CEO, a school principal, or whether it's a finance department. They may need access to a particular printer. Your existing IDP group mapping might not be quite suitable for allocating printers at a group level. So this is where the individual allocation comes in on top. With respect to Google, you get even more choices about how you might want to deploy printers across your organization. You can target users, you can target OUs, you can target devices, you can target groups, and you can target any combination thereof. So for example, if you've got fixed terminal devices, maybe Chrome boxes in your library, you can bind printer lists to those Chrome boxes. But then for one-to-one carried Chrome books inside, for example, school, then you would typically bind the printer list to the user just in case they need to swap out the hardware at any point. So you then don't need to reallocate printers to the particular hardware. The printer list follows the user around. So lots and lots of different configuration options here. And again, you get the advantage of individual user mapping, either to withdraw print privileges or to add additional printers to different users across your organization. So very powerful IDP integration. And we'll talk about it maybe in a little bit. This also comes back to the reporting side of the platform, where specific usernames and groups get print events logged against them, and then that builds up into quite a powerful set of reports that are visible.
Let's talk about cost saving and security aspects of the system. So how does DirectPrint help you save money? I have my structure built out now. I have my users in the system. How can I understand who's printing what? And then, are there any means in terms of being able to enforce policies, perhaps to save money?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a really common question that we get from um, pretty much all of the different types of organizations, different industries that we have as customers. And the first the first task, the first step really in cost control is understanding where your spend is today. And so the reporting side of the platform, this customized print reporting view that you see here, this is really the primary tool for you to understand on day one where you're spending on print and who are the primary print users across your organization. There's lots of organizations that we deal with where they really don't have a handle on their print volumes, who's printing and why they're printing. So then that leads to a number of different aspects where you can deploy what we would call technical interventions. So this is things like being able to set policies against particular user groups. So within the system, you can define as many policies as you like. So for example, a cost saving policy. And within the cost saving policy, you can force double-sided and you can force black and white, you can force mono printing in the system. So that would be an example of a particular policy that you create to apply to a user group, which would help your organization to save money. And so the combination of firstly understanding where your print costs are and then having some tools in your toolbox to be able to reduce the overall cost of print to your organization, quite powerful. These policies also extend onto things like requiring accounting codes, to doing reprint detection, so to avoid people reprinting their documents over and over again, and also limiting the number of pages that people can print, for example, on a daily basis. So lots of flexibility within policies, but quite often this is a second step for people. The first step is to really use the custom reporting capability to understand where the costs are, and then it may be a case of engaging with the people who are printing at volume and asking them, how can you help to digitize their workflow better? How can you help them to reduce their overall requirement for print? So it's really that insight that provides the tools then for allowing organizations to reduce their costs of print.
Let's focus on security a little bit in terms of maybe secure print. So, say we have one of those Konica copiers in a shared space, the machines utilized by HR and marketing. The HR team are printing some confidential documents about staff. Can you enable secure print for certain users, and then leave straight out printing on for, say, the marketing department?
The short answer is absolutely. So we support the secure print functionalities, various different flavors actually of secure print across the whole range of manufacturers. So basically everyone you see in this drop-down list here, from Xerox, Konica, Kyocera, HP, we support the secure print functionalities that are built into the single function printers and the multifunction copiers. So as an administrator, you just need to enable that functionality in the platform, and it's super easy to do so. Furthermore, you can target the user groups, for example, that you want to enforce secure printing for. So again, if you're dealing with maybe sensitive financial information, your finance department has to use secure print, whereas your marketing department might not need secure print enabled. So you can target the secure print capability towards different parts of your organization, and that helps again to maximize efficiency for example, the marketing folks, but also maximize security for example, the finance folks. So again, the message here is lots of different flexibility built into the platform to enable you to find the correct security policies that will work for your organization.
One final question that we get asked frequently is around off-network printing. Is there any way to cloud enable, let's say, legacy print devices, so that users can print from home, or when they're in disconnected locations?
Absolutely. So zero trust zero trust networks, home, maybe printing from home, maybe printing from internet cafe, mobile printing, etc., supported by the system. We call it edge printing. So this is where you would effectively cloud enable an existing printer within your organization. It's important to note that here you can target the accessibility of that printer, i.e., meaning who gets access to the cloud print enablement for that printer, and you can be very targeted. And again, what I mean by that is you don't have to enable this for all users across your organization, and that can be super important because there may be only a couple of folks that you want to enable for cloud-based or print from home use cases. In fact, you see here in my list, I've got my own printer that's been cloud enabled here. So I've got an HP 401, and you see it's got a cloud icon alongside it in the client. That means that that the system has cloud enabled that printer, and that means that I'll be able to print to that printer from, even if that printer's on a different subnet back in the office, for example, I'll be able to print to it from home or when I'm on the road, just as long as I've got a standard internet connection. So those use cases are supported by direct print. There's no extra cost to enable those particular features inside of the platform, and it really is a question of what your network security policies are, how your VLAN's laid out, whether you have a separate guest network Wi-Fi SSID, for example, another very common use case that we see, as to whether you would need this feature and whether you would want this feature enabled. But yes, cloud printing supported. We call it edge printing inside of our system, and it enables those remote print use cases.
On the data security aspects here, the print data, what mechanisms are in place to ensure customers can be safe in the knowledge that the print data is secure?
So there's a couple of different aspects. So that firstly, there's the aspect of data sovereignty. So where does your document data end up? So as administrators, you can configure where you want the documents to reside. And so we have different regions inside of the platform. So for example, EU West, EU West 2, which happens to be London, but there's US West, US East, and then different locations across Asia and Africa. So from an organization perspective, even if you're a large multinational organization, you can constrain your document data to be held within a particular region. So that's a little bit around kind of data, what we call data sovereignty. With respect to data security, obviously we employ all the latest security techniques and best practices for the securing of those documents while they're off your network, meaning stored in the cloud. I won't go into the detail of exactly what is done there, but safe to say there are various levels of encryption of the documents that are applied at each level of the document processing chain. So you can rest assured that your documents are safe when they're being passed through the cloud. So yeah, again, for customers who have security compliance questions or want to do the detail on some of this, again, we can share additional information with certainly with the larger customers who may have specific compliance requirements that they need reassurance on. So always happy to have those discussions.
That covers most of the key aspects of the platform. Obviously, there's a lot more detail to get into when you can trial the software. Could you just finish by talking about the way in which we support customers, pricing, and how you can get a trial up and running?
Absolutely. So let's start with the support aspect. So the support aspect is real human beings, and you can actually use the administration platform itself to book a meeting with a real human being to get technical support. All of the support is included in our license or subscription fees. So there's no additional support fees to pay. It's important to highlight that. We're available via video calls. You can also raise tickets within the system. If you've got a slightly lower priority question, you can raise it as an email, raise it as a ticket through this form should you need to. and obviously we will get back to you via email using our internal ticketing system. In terms of pricing is very transparent. So for organizations with 2,000 users or less, you can navigate over to directprint.io/pricing, and all of the pricing is online and visible. So if you're an organization with less than 2,000 users, you can generate a quote online. Different licensing options. You can either enter into a subscription or you can have a yearly license. We accept purchase orders and we can invoice you appropriately depending upon what your purchase process requirements would be as an organization. So used to dealing with both private sector and public sector organizations. So reach out to us, support@directprint.io, if you have any questions around either the support processes, SLAs, or indeed pricing. Always happy to help on any of those topics. But feel free to go to directprint.io/pricing in order to get a feel for where our licensing is. You can see here actually $585 a year covers what we call base license, which is up to 100 printing users. Important to say that our pricing model is based on print activated user. So that is somebody who has the Direct Print Universal printer driver, the application installed on their endpoint on their Windows, Mac, or Chrome device, and they have at least one printer in their list. So it's basically per seat pricing for those folks who are print enabled. A very simple pricing model and transparent pricing fully available online.
Thanks, David. Just finally, how can we get a trial up and running?
Thank you for the reminder, James. Yes, go to directprint.io. There's a big pink button, top right corner. Click on the free trial button. This will take you into the sign up phase. We do not require a credit card. We do not require any payment authorization. It's a zero commitment from your perspective in terms of the trial, but you do get our full commitment during the trial. You get full support from the Direct Print organization. Again, video calls, raising tickets, whatever it may be. Happy to help you out with respect to onboarding your printers into the system and resolving any configuration issues within the 30-day trial. It's within our interest to help you get up and running. So we're always happy to offer support in that respect. So feel free, go ahead, 30-day trial, reach out if you have any issues with onboarding your printers, configurations, complex configuration questions. Always happy to help. So don't be a stranger.
Thanks for wrapping up, David. I hope the session's been useful for everybody. If you have any questions, as David mentioned, please reach out, support@directprint.io.
Thank you, James.